Shmups are pretty fun. They've always been a favorite genre for me. I used to play them a ton on the crusty old custom MAME cabinet at my dad's work when I was like, what, 12? It's sadly no longer in service. I was a big fan of spaceships back then, and the fact that you played as a cool spaceship in a lot of these shmups really kept my attention. I used to play the same ones again and again, like Galactic Storm or Eco Fighters. I had a really weird taste in games. And one day, when I was scrolling along, I found a game titled Radiant Silvergun. And little did 12-year-old me know, I just discovered one of my favorite games of all time. Radiant Silvergun was made by Treasure, who you may know for their more popular games like Ikaruga and Wario World? Damn, I didn't know they made Wario World. Treasure, since creation, always made home console games, with Sega constantly asking them to make an arcade game for them. President Masato Maegawa concerned that the shrinking arcade business was too risky, and that people wouldn't appreciate their game if it was in arcades. Hey now, that's not true! Look at Metal Slug 1 to 3. People love those games. Even so, Treasure developers really wanted to make a shmup. The director Hiroshi Iuchi just quote, wanted to make a shooting game. I love that attitude. No interest in what the market currently wanted. He just wanted to make a shooting game. Masato even thought that the shmup genre was dying. So much for that. And yet, despite all these market concerns, they made a concept, and eventually, Radiant Silvergun came to be. Oh yeah, I'm playing on the Saturn version. I know they made an enhanced port with better graphics and other stuff. I have it in my Steam library, actually. I just prefer the Saturn version. If you wait on the title screen, we get an animated intro cutscene. The developers went to the studio Gonzo, which made other animes like Hellsing. That's the most popular one I could find. Since the remastered version's translation is less than perfect, I'm going to be popping some subtitles during dialogue for a much better fan translation I found. I had to use Internet Archive for this one, this is old. But before we get into that, I should introduce you to the characters first. This is Baster, our pretty confident and optimistic hero. Rihanna, the lighthearted and silly girl. Guy, the huge ego, hot-headed son of Igarashi. Tengai, the captain of Tetra, and Creator, our cute little robot buddy that accompanies all our heroes. Okay, now that I've introduced all the characters, you can watch the cutscene. This is the space cruiser Tetra, where all of our protagonists are having a meeting with the Secretary of Defense, Igarashi.
例の紀元前の地層から発掘された物体は未だ構成素材からその用途目的まで全く解明できない。さらに興味深い難問がもう一つある。科研三部調査班の報告によると、例の物体と一緒にロボノイドが発掘されたらしい。クリエイトタイプ ID00104。
バカな、紀元前ですぞ。しかもここにいるクリエイターと同じ型番、なんかの間違いでは。
確かに私もそう思った。だが製造元である我々が発掘したのだ。間違いようがない。理
解不能です。やる気あんのか。とっとと調べさせろよ。
双子の兄弟なのかな。
いいね、それ面白いよ。
現在記憶データ解析中だ。分かり次第追って連絡する。それから
I really love seeing these characters interact.
今日は君たちのテスト最終日だったな。上層部も新型機には期待しておる。頑張ってくれたまえ。
親父、気合がありゃテストなんざ必要ねえよ。
天外、 ライの成績はどうなのかね。
最低であります。
I really love this interaction. Every time I watch it now, I get reminded of this goofy fan art I found. I wish there were more fans of this game so we could have more goofy fan art like this.
これは確かに
Then, we're taken to the scientific research facility of the Earth Defense Army, where we get to see two... students? Why would you have students working there? That's probably nothing.
サムは人手が足りないんだからクローンを導入すべきですよ。
クローンか。技術的にはロボノイドに任せれば簡単に作れるから問題はないが。
上層部ですね。まったく何考えてんだが。ところでこいつどうですか。
石は全くわからん。ロボノイドの記憶はあと少し。出た。
どんな感じですか。こんなことが。
コンピューター、最後の方を見せてくれ。
この石のような物体ってまさかこいつですか。
緊急回転。
Everyone in the headquarters is reasonably on high alert. The goddamn Evangelion scene is playing, of course you should.
どうした。
派遣3部で爆発事故発生。レーダーに正体不明の飛行物体を確認。
何。数は。
8、16、32、どんどん増えています。
異常警報レベル A 教員第一種戦闘態勢。
派遣3部よりデータが転送されています。
かわしてくれ。これは。
Of course, who would have guessed that Big Diamond is the villain?
発掘されたロボノイドの記憶データ。なんということだ。
司令部より異常警報レベル A が発令されています。
レベル A って最高ランクでしょ。やばいんでしょ。
状況を報告しろ。
正体不明の飛行物体に包囲されています。
よし。基地後方1200まで接近。パイロット各員は別名などまで戦闘廃止にて待機。
了解。
西暦2520年7月14日。この日、世界は消滅した。我々4人と一体のロボノイドを残して。
And now, this is where our game starts. By the way, I use an infinite lives cheat for the recording, because I'm not going to spend like 5 million hours grinding out retries.
やはり来た。
そんじゃまあ一丁やりますか。
やっぱ戦うの。
やってやるぜ親父の敵。
また行っちゃったよ。
艦長出るぜ。
You may assume that this takes place right after Tetra got the alert, and this is them deploying to Earth. The year is actually 2051. This HUD appears on each stage, showing us a nickname of sorts that usually corresponds to the current situation, what date and time it is, and our descent point, which is basically telling us where we are. Also, take note that the stage is 3A instead of like 1. Oh wait, I should probably explain the mechanics of this game. Sit down for this one, it's a doozy. Radiant Silvergun is a much more technical and puzzle-like shmup than others. In most shmups, it's just shoot the enemies, dodge a few bullets, maybe a bomb or two. Radiant Silvergun has those core concepts, but builds on them in unique ways. First off, we have 7 different weapons we can use, each with their own strengths and weaknesses in different situations. A button fires a straightforward rapid Vulcan, B fires a low damage homing shot, and C fires a sideways aimed spread shot. But I said 7 weapons, because if we press Z, X, or Y, or 2 buttons together like the arcade version, you'll get access to 3 more weapons. Pressing X sends out 2 targeting lasers that fire out homing plasma beams on lock, kinda like the plasma beam from Raiden. Pressing Y fires a Vulcan shot in front of you and some behind you. And Z sends out a circle of targeting reticles which fire out lock-on spread shots when locked on. But there's one more. Pressing L will let you use the Radiant Sword. It looks like Star of Providence isn't the first game where you use a ship with a sword. Take that, donkey. The sword spins around when fired, and when you hold it down, it points in the opposite direction to where you're moving, kinda like you're dragging it around. It can absorb these special pink bullets which fill up this meter. When full, you can unleash a devastating scissor attack, making you invincible and destroying anything that's caught in it. This is basically Radiant Silvergun's equivalent of bombs. You know how in shmups, you upgrade your weapons through pickups, like in Toho or something? Well, in Radiant Silvergun, you upgrade weapons too, but not how you'd expect. You actually level them up like an RPG by gaining points with those weapons through various means. One of the main ways of getting score is by chaining, a system that was later adopted in Ikaruga. Chains work by destroying consecutive enemies of the same color, gaining more and more points. Oh yeah, all the enemies are color-coded, either red, blue, or yellow. The remastered version actually adds a Ikaruga mode, which allows you to change the color when getting a chain, which I actually prefer, but we're still using the Saturn version for consistency's sake. Chains you'll come across the most are probably red, since they appear the most, and are the base for secret chains. If you destroy a red enemy, then a blue one, then a yellow one, you will instantly start a yellow chain from 10,000 points. Another way of gaining points is boss destruction. Most, if not all, bosses in this game have multiple pieces that can be destroyed separately, gaining you more points depending on how many pieces were destroyed when you deplete its health through the main piece. Which creates a nice risk-reward where you gotta decide, do I want to risk fighting this boss longer for more points, or do I want to play it safe and destroy it altogether, get less points? This, overall, just adds so much more value to an otherwise very ignored scoring aspect of shmups. But playing smart is much more valuable in the long run, because their weapons are more powerful due to score and leveling up. Okay, I think that's finally all the mechanics. Oh right, you. These little things are named Mary, which appear in levels as secrets which could be revealed by using the homing spread on them. They reward varying points from really high to really bad. Okay, now I'm certain that's all the mechanics. Time to play the goddamn game. We start out high in the clouds, or is that pollution? I don't know. And fight our first enemies. See a peculiar thing watching us. I love the music for this level, along with basically all the tracks in this game. Toshi Sakamoto really cooked. This one, called Return, is triumphant, feeling like a welcoming of heroes to the scene. We also get some monologue from Tengai explaining the current situation.
西暦2521年7月13日、あれから1年が経とうとしている。船のエネルギー、食料が底をつき始めたため、我々はいやおうなしに地上へ降りなければならなくなっていた。この宇宙巡洋艦テトラが新型戦闘機3機を搭載しているとはいえ、今回の帰還が大きな賭けであることに違いはない。 正面からの戦闘はできる限り避けねばならんのだ。
And this is our first boss, showing off all mechanics of the bosses ahead, both those segments, those pink bullets, and self-destruction. Wait, I knew I missed one. Okay, I'll make it quick. Bosses just self-destruct if you take too long to destroy them, netting you no points. That's it. I always love this boss, how it forcefully slides on the platform here, and how it deliberately flings itself off the platform, either being destroyed by you or itself. The hard mode version of this boss is pretty funny, just spamming fireballs at you like he's a NES man. Also, can I talk about how much I love the boss intros? The way so many warning texts are thrown on screen, the static effects, the sounds of the alarms, the ever so threatening "no refuge" text, one of my favorite warning messages in video games. And the iconic "encounter an assailant" text, which shows the name of the boss, and the "B attitude for gains," which is just some silly flavor text that is related to the boss in some way. Like AKAO, which calls for plain shoot tech and plain evasion tech, show that it's an easy boss and it's the first one. Okay, enough me gushing about the tiny stuff in this game. You want to see the actual video game being played. With that boss down, we continue to 3B in the suburbs, with enclosed spaces around these moving blocks. Some chains showing off the system of chaining, where you gotta ask, do I want to take these enemies out, or do I want to let them attack me to keep my chain? There's also this part with a bunch of laser things behind these blocks, which apparently I just crashed into one. Expect a lot of inconsistent skill in this gameplay. It was taken over multiple sessions with varying degrees of tiredness.
This guy fucking sucks.
Mika L is another sort of tutorial boss, showing how some bosses will almost surround you with attackers, forcing you to have spatial awareness. It's got lasers, bullets, missiles, and recurring boss trope you'll see a lot, big charged laser. It goes down with relative ease with the use of spread and homing plasma. Stage 3C, Descent Point, the Suburbs RT Board. This is my least favorite part of the game. It's not bad, it's just slow. Gotta navigate through this narrow tunnel lined with turrets, and sometimes enemies. You could go for a chain here, but I end up just brute-forcing it usually. There's also these little chomper guys. I like them. Enemy design in this game is just really fascinating to me. And a lot of these enemies and bosses feel like they're just junk haphazardly thrown together and brought to life. It always makes me think, did the Stone Knight just summon these, or did the Stone Knight take control of destroyed spacecrafts? It's never really explained to us. After some more tunnels, we get out, and... Gallop. Gallop is... Wait a minute. Wait a minute. These attacks look familiar. Let me look something up. Aha! Yep, this boss is a direct homage to R-Type. I always call this guy John R-Type as a result. This is sort of a wake-up call boss, with the difficulty of it spiking up from the other bosses we fought, which makes sense with the music changing from Return to a more menacing track called Debris. Stage 3D, Descent Point, Gap of Gate Front. We get a fun little part where we can destroy a bunch of these enemies with our sword, which is where these guys are introduced. They start off in these little indestructible containers, till breaking and quickly darting, firing a pink bullet. We can just have our sword pointing up, constantly destroying the enemies and destroying the bullets, letting us use the hyper sword again and again. Undo. No, not that one. Sorry. This is one of my least favorite bosses. Which has a lot, because all the bosses in this game are great. It stays in the center, where you get these columns that you can use as cover to avoid its attacks. It's relatively relaxed until it fires this big laser, which then you gotta use the column to avoid it. It's still not too bad though. The real annoyance is when you try to go for 100% destruction, because once all its turrets are destroyed, it just fires a laser constantly aimed at you. Stage 3E, Descent Point, the Celestial Gate. I tried to pull off a secret chain here, but then kinda panicked while I was trying to go up close to the lock-on. I'm gonna be making a lot of mistakes like that. I love how still, despite the consequences currently at hand, they still act like they did a whole year ago in Tetra, bickering like siblings. It's so adorable. I love the characters in this game. UE2AGAL is a modular boss. Each time you destroy a segment, a different one appears in its place, leading to unique bullet patterns every time you fight it, since the segments you destroy will probably vary. It's got angled lasers, pink bullet turrets, homing ball lasers, lock-on vortexes that don't damage you, but instead pull you in, and these big beam arrays. Dealing damage to the main head blows the top off, revealing a beam cannon, which fires a big laser, which is ironically easier to dodge than the first face of the head. Our heroes are shocked. Their worst fears have realized. Right out of the gate, the screen fades to black and...
キレイグが攻撃を受けています。
おやつ待ってろ。今俺が行くぜ。
ああ、行っちゃったよ。
またかこら。
バカ。艦長出るぜ。
This is a flashback, indicated by the stage information and Tengai's monologue.
西暦2520年7月14日。話は1年前に遡る。異常警報レベル A の発令から全人類消滅の瞬間に至るまで、全ての原因は紀元前の地層から発掘されたあの石のような物体であることはまず間違いないだろう。調査していた火拳散布で一体何が起こったのか。そして奴らの目的は何なのか。
The track playing here, Reminiscence, is really frantic and mysterious, setting the tone of a surprise attack against an unknown enemy. Get these cool hologrammy overlays on the background, showing us that the city is in an emergency. I know it's just a background element, but it's such a neat detail here, showing the path of the roads, really adds to immersion. Go upwards. You can see the HQ in the background, which is a neat detail. We are flying straight towards it after all. Katesu. Wait, is that the moon in the background? And it's really close. So, let me get this straight. We're flying to defend the headquarters, and we just fly out of the atmosphere all the way up to near the moon? Just for hype moments and aura? Awesome. Either that, or the moon is just closer to the Earth in the year 2150. Kotetsu is pretty cool, using its arms as attacks. I love how asymmetrical the arms are, with the two arms acting differently, the left one firing out beams, and the right one firing less beams, but making a wave that pulls you in. I always love this attack. It charges up and just goes bleh. This boss is always one of my favorites. I just love how alive it feels sometimes. Fly back to the surface. Now on Stage 2B, Descent Point, Central Plane, First Layer. Entering a gap like the trench run in Star Wars, but that's a reference. Gauntlets. These are technically two bosses in one, but it kind of treats them as one boss because there's only one name for them. We first fight the red one, which is a chase along a corridor, with turns which you either follow where it's going to go or go in the other direction. This attack is the bane of my existence. There's also this neat part where the blue one appears and just starts carpet bombing us. Pretty neat. Then it goes behind you and starts spamming lasers at you from the front segments if it weren't destroyed, which can get pretty stressful sometimes. There's also a phase where it chases you along the corridors, which you're never going to see this one unless your weapons are terrible. Now we get to fight the blue one. It flies in and... Holy shit, it's a transformer! This boss is pretty much made for homing plasma, with the two lines locking nicely onto these two pieces. It summons these little guys that fly alongside, firing pink pellets at you, which explode also. What are these? Oxygen and nitrogen? Yeah, I took chemistry class. Our pilots head underground to avoid the incoming enemies. Which is odd. You've been doing pretty good tearing through giant bosses. Why not just fight through them? These two laser cage things fly in and trap us. I love how the game just has a lot of one-off enemies or gimmicks that never appear again. So much ambition in this game. Shame games nowadays just reuse stuff. There's a bit where it spins around where you can get a chain. And where the beams cross, yes, there was a Mary here. Yes, I missed it. It gives 30 points. Now shut up. Nasu. No, not the minigame from Yumaniki. This is fucking incredible! Have you ever fought the Destroyer in Terraria? Well, it's kinda like this. It's a worm boss, basically. Homing Sprite is your best bet here, which damages all segments and netting you a lot of weapon bonuses. Nasu fires charged beams and maybe some pink pellets if you didn't deal enough damage to the segments. There's also this phase where it just goes to the top of the screen and fires bullets. You barely get to see this one. The track playing here is called Ruin, which is a much more majestic and mysterious song, possibly due to how alive Nasu feels. Stage 2D, Descent Point, Orbital Road. We get a fun little bit where we get to kill a bunch of red enemies with homing, and these yellow ones with the Radiant Sword. Dai Kai 10. This boss always makes me groan whenever I gotta fight it. In the first part, it fires these bouncing orbs, alongside either lasers or pink pellets. I think it's tricky, since it actually changes which way it's pointing depending on where you are. It's also one of the reasons why I decided to use the Saturn version, because they just look horrendous in the remastered edition. Good god. After all 4 parts of them are done firing, Dai Kai 10 flies back and it traps you. It fires beams from the heads and boomerang-shaped projectiles and pink pellets from these little turrets that go around. The hard mode version of this pattern is just... What is this? After that, Daikai 10 spins faster and opens up, firing missiles, then slowing down and shooting these bouncing orbs again. Does that for a little more, then goes back to the beams, and closes in closer, firing these bouncing lasers. Stage 2E. Descent point EDA headquarters. Looks like we're getting closer. There's a bunch of enemies and then these discs with turrets. I swear, the Stone Lake has some really weird decisions for enemies. Gotta be careful not to get hit and only destroy the red discs or the turrets to keep your chain up. Then we face off against a mini-boss. This thing always stuck in my memory. It sort of looks out of place in terms of the art style for me. Maybe it's just the shading. The bullet patterns can be really difficult for this stage in the game. Again, more cool stuff that just appear once and never again. I love this game to death.
状況を報告してくれ。
現在司令部までの距離360、シルバーガン010203は大型の敵と交戦中です。
戦闘データは記録維持。加えて司令部上空にいる高エネルギー物体のデータを分析してくれ。
了解。
Ghetto O. This boss always interested me. First off, the unique looking effect making everything wireframe, since creator is recording data. This is the only time this effect appears in the game, and it's so charming. I always wondered what this boss would look like without the wireframe filter, since it just appears. Not even flying into the screen, just poofs in like it's Gaster. Looks like Guy is in a situation here, so we gotta save him. So that's what they meant by twice. This is always one of my favorite bosses. The unique visuals, attacks, the fact that they coded this all in just for one boss. This game just oozes with charm and effort. Destroy the rest of the boss and then a really pissed off D20 starts attacking. If you didn't notice, it was orbiting the ship like a moon the whole fight. Homing is obviously your best bet here. Just watch out for its erratic movements and the shapes it makes.
どうやら我々はやることが全て遅すぎたようだな。巡洋艦テトラに連絡を。バカモン、何しに来た。
何しにって助けに来てやっただろうが。
ダメだ。お前たちは艦に戻り、次の指令があるまで衛星起動にて待機。これは絶対命令だ。
王冠、今そんな場合じゃ。
いいか、人類の未来はお前たちにかかっているのだ。早く行け。
何わけわかんないこと言ってんだよ。
説明する暇はない。艦長、あとは頼んだぞ。
Looks like Igarashi knows more than we do. Too bad he got vaporized along with all life on Earth. With our flashback over, we return back to the present.
なんか喋ってますけど。とっとと辛かった方がいいみたいだぜ。どうしたどうした。なんで攻撃しないんだ。私やめとく。班長。
司令部の記憶データが残っていれば、あれについて何かわかるかもしれません。
ゲート13側にもある。司令部へ向かう。
Stage 4A, Descent Point, the Celestial Gate 13. This whole section and onwards means quite a bit to me. Okay, story time. The arcade version of Silvergun has you pick between going to the flashback or going to evasion after defeating the boss. When I played this on the arcade cabinet, I never knew you could actually, select it. I always just picked the one it was already highlighted on. So one day when I was playing it, I accidentally selected the other one. And I was like, holy, there's new stuff in the game. Was that a useless tangent? Probably. Back to the actual video game. This area utilized these boxes? I don't know what these are for. Are they storage for the Stone-Lake's forces? Do they need resources? Are these just leftover from humanity? Whatever. They're basically just chain fodder. There's more narrow corridors lined with turrets, and these chompy guys. This enemy tries to force you into one with a laser, which is kind of smart. Do you think the enemies predicted that? I know it's just a level design, but think of the lore implications. The last bit has us destroying more boxes in a sequence that also reminds me of World's Hardest Game. No, I haven't beaten it, I'm a fake fan. We fly out and... Lunar Sea. Another one of my favorites, partially because of the music, which is probably my favorite track in the entire game. Evasion. Which just makes me happy. Can't really pinpoint the emotion. I just feel positive emotions when I'm listening to this. I was looking up the soundtrack for this game while recording and stumbled upon this video. Yeah, this guy gets it. Lunar Sea is pretty special. It has 3 parts that sends out individually, and if you take too long to damage it, somehow, it'll fly away and reconnect with the next part, like those Transformer toys that can snap together. Anyone remember those? Each part has a different bullet pattern, first one having a standard forward shot, next one being a zigzag pattern, and the last one being these bullets that fire in 3s and 2s. It also brings in some smaller ships, which fire projectiles on destruction, or these asteroids that make vortexes or missiles. The process is pretty good, but I have a very fond memory of this boss when I was playing it in the arcade cabinet. When I got to this stage, my dad had to leave and needed me to stop playing, but I was kinda locked in, so I ended up joining as player 2 to try to get the boss to go by faster. I don't think it worked that well, since my weapons were so underleveled because 12-year-old me couldn't understand how the chaining system works. Was that a useful story you need to hear? Probably not. Stage 4B. Descent Point, the Waterway 13 Ward. There's a little chain of enemies that split up and then the rest is revealed. This area has a lot of these contracting logic walls that you can shoot at to make them shrink. It's one of the more puzzle-like areas where you gotta shoot the walls to progress. There's also these little guys. Look at them. They just stay behind the wall and shoot, but fly away when you get past the wall. This is literally the one time they show up in the entire game, and I love it. 10 out of 10, great enemy. VA-50. A very unique boss to what we've seen so far. Being a spacecraft or some mech or something, it's just robots on a shelf. Each part has enemies that you gotta take out to advance to the next layer, hiding in a box that keeps you in. Hey, looks like Undertale wasn't the first game with a battle box. Each floor has different enemies, like variants of the first enemies that shoot turning lasers or bouncing projectiles. Or ospreys! Yep, just ospreys. On the last floor, the boss reveals itself with more of its friends around it. It fires fireballs at you, and sometimes a really big beam. I think that's a pretty neat boss. Stage 4C, Descent Point, Water Tank 13 Ward. This is another puzzle-like section, with enemies surrounding you in very unique ways, like putting these laser wall guys around you to trap you in. I mean, if you want to. And there's machine gun enemies. Never appears again in the game. This is literally the only time they appear. And there's also these things that shoot out Nickelodeon slime? Another thing is, for some odd reason, they count as defeating 2 enemies in a chain. Dan 564. Wait a minute. We were going above the waterway before, right? But now we took a turn downwards, as the camera shows. So we're technically flying straight down now? This boss is pretty neat. It's a caterpillar that runs alongside you, firing bullets at you, and you can use these pillars as cover, sort of like Undo. It gets really tricky when you gotta attack it in a cramped space, but it isn't too bad. It starts firing missiles when you get closer to the front, then fires these big curving energy beams that you gotta move from one side of the pillar to the other, which is a pretty neat challenge. Then, it curls up and... Nice. Yes, I know that's not actually a strike, I just thought it was funny. Wait a minute again. The pillars fell down after getting hit, so are we moving forwards and not downwards? What was up with the water before? Was it floating? I'd be lying if I said it wasn't cool. It starts firing bullets and missile circles at you, and these orange spheres, with 6 pink pellets. I always loved how the spheres had plasma ball-like chains on the pellets. Wow, am I really that easily entertained? After a bit, it uncurls and starts chasing you backwards, firing missiles that trail beams, and more bullets. It also pulls forward a bit to fire from the segments you didn't destroy, sometimes. Stage 4D, Descent Point, West Central First Layer. You remember the first layer from before, the trench-like bit? Yeah, we're back at it. We got a bunch of these shell enemies, which I guess you could do a really stylish chain here. No, I didn't. We resurface and... oh, that doesn't look as good as we saw it before. It's riddled with craters and damage. Wonder what caused all of it. This is Penta. You get it, Penta and Tetra. It's basically our ship, but evil. This is by far my favorite boss in the game, accompanied by one of my favorite songs, the aptly named track, Penta. Feels like a corruption of Return, using a similar melody and rhythm, but changed from a triumphant and heroic song to a more intimidating and faster paced one. And it all makes sense. It's basically our own ship we're fighting here. And speaking of fighting our own ships... yes, you're seeing this. We're quite literally fighting evil Silverguns now. I love how they're shackled by some sort of tether, like they're a really dangerous animal that's gotta be restrained. They use the same weapons as you, albeit heavily modified. Vulcans which sweep around and cover the screen, homing shots which I swear I remember there was a cheese pattern to it, but I forgot what they were. And spread, which is a little slower than ours. But that's not all. They have all the weapons. Homing plasma, which is now a lasting electric attack. Back wide, which traps you, where you have to dodge missiles. And homing spread, which has changed from a circle to a long-range reticle. But they still have another weapon, the Radiant swords. They sweep across quickly, and they even have the big scissor attack, complete with those shards. After all that, the Silverguns are released and blast forwards, creating a huge explosion, destroying themselves in the process. Penta then goes into a full desperation phase, going up close and letting loose a barrage of bullets at you. I love how desperate Penta looks during this. Both engines gone, and nothing to do but destroy. I love how little self-preservation Penta has. It's like it's actively breaking off parts and throwing Silverguns at you. Also, if the Stone Lake is specifically sacrificing this ship to destroy you. Stage 4E. Descent point, West Central second layer. This part is rather puzzle-like with these... Oh god. Those choppy ones look like they're in pain. How their jaws shake. This adds more personality to an enemy that just goes down like nothing. There's these rolling triangles, and then this part, which kinda reminds me of this area from Ikaruga. Maybe this is what inspired it. After that, and oh, that's a big boy. We fight a few more enemies, and then... Oh no, he's coming back! This is another one of the very scarce mini-bosses. Shoots out enemies from its mouth? Where's it getting all these? And also shooting lasers. Pretty funny guy. It always stuck in my memory how stupid he looks. CA2EKZO. First off, don't get worried about the little swirlies it fires towards you. Those are just for show. This is another cool boss, with its main thing being that it has 3 different turrets that all use different attacks. Big pellets, lasers, and even a flamethrower. There is also the head as its weak point. It swaps these pieces around every so often. Each time a turret is destroyed, another's put in its place. Unless you damage that part enough to where the deploy area gets destroyed. So it's just has an infinite supply of these? Shouldn't think too hard about that. It also spins! Firing off whatever turrets are currently intact rapidly. Sometimes this boss just sticks to the bottom where you can't damage the head. Which actually happened to me and actually got me to self-destruction. Like, come on dude, it was right there! I know this is a pretty important part of the story, but I just love the way Creator just flies off like a Silvergun. It always cracks me up. It's so stupid. Stage 5A, Victim. Descent point, EDA Headquarters. It's the same one we saw the Stone Lake destroy humanity at, but no longer blue. Now it's an apocalyptic orange. This level is the embodiment of oh shit. With the track, Space Battleship 13033 KI playing. A menacing track, making things feel almost hopeless, but with the same motif we've heard before, as if a glimmer of hope for our heroes. take down a bunch of fodders, then we face the real threat. Space Battleship 130. Probably the biggest boss we've fought yet. The entire stage is a constant struggle against it. Instead of fighting separate bosses, the bosses you fight are just parts of the whole thing. First part, just the front of it, fires huge missiles and homing lasers, and even a goddamn wall of missiles. I almost destroyed this bit, but it went away just when the health bar was going to run out. Probably because my weapons were just a little underleveled. You fly upwards, fight a few more fodders, then go to the center, where the boss becomes really difficult. I hope you don't have claustrophobia, because this is like the trash compactor scene of Star Wars all over again, just with 100 times more bullets. It calls in more enemies that walk along the sides, or flying ones, which slowly close the walls in, and even slamming one in, firing a missile along the narrow corridor. Then it calls on these guys, who carry trusses that you have to navigate around. You can't just kill them, you have to play its game. It moves behind you too, even spinning around. If that wasn't confusing enough, it has those truss guys again. It even starts spamming missiles near the end. They really want us dead at this point. Finally, this hunk of metal finally goes down. But it's not over yet. Space Battleship 33KI. Yes, they're throwing a second one at you. This one starts off firing 2 continuous beams, while a horde of these laser enemies shoot at you from behind it. Which makes me think again, did the Soul Knight plan this all out? This is a very specific strategy designed specifically to kill one tiny ship. I'm just imagining the Soul Knight in a boardroom, showing its goofy plan to kill the Silverguns to its soldiers. The cannons are destroyed, and a constant wall of shell enemies fall down, with some pretty big chain opportunity. And there's this tunnel lined with laser cannons, which is such a difficult pattern. I've seen even pro players struggle on it, at least on hard mode. Get to the end and it's shooting asteroids at you. Isn't really worth it to shoot them, just dodge and absorb the pellets. The head flips around, brings in the walls, starts shooting bouncing lasers along it, while slowly closing in the walls. And then it charges up a beam. Of course it has a giant laser. It repeats this pattern of swapping between the 2 sides, sometimes moving side to side. That's kind of it. This cutscene is a doozy. 2 major character deaths in one, leaving only Baxter and Rihanna the last 2 living humans, period. What else is there left to do? The creator's fate is unknown. There's practically nothing on the world to save anymore. But then, when all hope seems lost...
行くのですか？
俺たちは勝てねえのかな。
最後の最後まで諦めるな。天外艦長の最後の言葉です。
艦長、そう言ったの？
私にはそう聞こえたような気がしました。
やれやれ、しゃあねえな。いっか。
素直じゃないのね。
先ほど司令部の記憶データを見ました。一つだけお願いがあるのですが。
何？
Stage 6A. Origin. Descent point, the orbit satellite B3. This is the final stand against the Sown-like. Accompanied by the track titled Origin. A hopeful track, representing the last two humans fighting for the human race. This isn't a real boss per se, it's for a bonus round against some enemies, in case you needed some more level ups. With different ones depending on which orbiter you shot. I chose red, so it's the one where you gotta shoot 3 enemies, and also shoot the blue wall to disable it temporarily. Then I chose red again, which is these enemies surrounding and firing energy, getting harder and harder to hit the more you destroy them. And then I accidentally shot the yellow one, which takes us to this mini boss that fires beams and sometimes a bullet that makes a shockwave. The core becomes damageable, and the stone-like reveals itself again. Varus, a mechanical shark, which kinda reminds me of G. Darius's bosses. I should review that game. It moves similarly to Nasu, following you around, using a very familiar sword attack, firing lasers, missiles, or just bouncing around the screen. It also really loves moving above or below where your weapons hit to avoid damage. Bachu, a turtle. It opens its shell up to reveal weapons, like missile launchers, these strange beam cannons, and also a core that you have to damage. Do enough damage and it closes its shell back up, revealing it has more weapons, and hangs out in the center while spinning around. Cannons fire pink pellets, which speed up the rotation for a bit every time they fire. Every time a turret is destroyed, an arc appears, which you have to be wary of, since the rotation direction can change. Also firing these little pink lasers every so often. After that phase, Bachu closes its shell one more time before opening up and pointing the top directly at you, firing multiple lasers from the edge, and one big one in the middle. You gotta keep a balance of being close to the outer lasers, but not too close or too far, since there's a giant laser in the middle. There's also these little exploding projectiles which have a really pretty explosion. I like how they look like a flower. Aetherigen. It's a phoenix, which fires waves of bullets from its wings, and flying towards you. It can swipe its wings to send out a wave of them, or spread them out to fire an array of them. Then, after half health, Aetherigen sets itself on fire, setting out bullets of fire from its wings, and a phoenix-shaped wave of fire, which I still cannot figure this pattern out. It also fires beams while moving from side to side. And there's this attack which I swear has some odd collision, like how did I dodge those? Seja, the stone-like strongest and final soldier, accompanied by the track titled The Stone-like, an angelic track showing the godlike power of the stone-like in comparison to you. Seja's attacks are unlike anything we've ever seen. Explosive shots fired from its eyes, shuriken-like projectiles, bombs that explode in a plus shape, even bringing out a kick, and a separate health bar for each phase. Once the first one is done, Seja charges up its arms and... This is one of the trickier patterns. It's so claustrophobic with how close the beams are brought together. Oh, was that not enough? Not just the first attack, just with this big laser trapping you. After that, it starts firing lasers from its arm, kicking, firing projectiles, all while the camera keeps shifting. No punches pulled. Even then, that's not all. Seja starts spitting, firing out fireballs, pink pellets, green lasers that fill the screen, and some attacks are just straight out of the Toho. Look at this. And you might think, that's gotta be the last phase. Nope. Seja has one last trick up its sleeve, bringing out the stone-like itself, and using it in a final pattern, raining down diamond projectiles that speed up as you deal damage, with the laser firing also, so you gotta keep moving, also looking for an opening. Finally, Seja is down. The stone-like strongest soldier, which may or may not be a clone of Ultraman, is defeated. And... wait. Did you see that destruction bonus? 1998, 5:30. That's the release date of Radiant Silvergun. I'm surprised nobody's talked about this little reference online. The soul-like shows itself again, and... Stage 1. Link. Descent point? Somewhere in time. According to the date, we've been sent 100,000 years into the past. I'll just let this sequence play out for itself.
この世に生まれし第11王
諦めないで。
およ立ち上がれ。この大地は神が我々に与えし者なのだ。正気なのか。何自分の顔を散らかってんのか。
そしていつも
お互いが正義じゃからの
緑の応援。これだけが
これからは人を中心とした政治が必要なのだよ。我々はもう一度考え直すべきです。皆さんには分かっているはずだ。
俺の夢はね、この宇宙の中にある。
私のこと愛してる。
これは初めから決まっていたこと。そう幾度となく繰り返されていること。残された私にできることは再び人類を再生させること。そう幾度となく繰り返されていること。私は彼らと別れる時にもらった髪の毛からクローンを作る。彼らを生き延びさせるために。あの石のような物体はこの地球を守るもの。あれはこの地球そのもの。そして全てを導くもの。長い時間をかけて再び人類は発展していくだろう。そしていつの日にか人類がこのことに気がつき、同じ過ちを繰り返さないように祈りたい。
Turns out, we never won. We were set back to eternally bookend the human race in a loop until we realize our mistakes. We didn't win the fight. We never did. This reveals some lore about Creator and why they're well named Creator. They're the Creator. They're what restarted the human race. And that's where our story ends. Or begins? I don't know. I've played this game multiple times. I've seen this ending multiple times too. But every time, it just feels. Every time I play, it just feels like another loop for them. I personally headcanon that Ikaruga is the end of this loop, where the Stone Lake is truly destroyed. But what happens then? The Protector of the World destroyed? It's the definition of an unwinnable fight. Radiant Silvergun is an absolute classic to me. The story, the visuals, the presentation, the concept, the gameplay, it meshes together just so well. I revisit it time and time again, finding new ways to tackle on stages and bosses. Radiant Silvergun is just the culmination of pure passion. Against all the market concerns and disagreements from management, they still pushed through and made an amazing game in the end. You can see the love put into every inch of the game with unique set pieces for almost every area. Treasure was a masterclass. Every game they made just had so much love put into it, and it's a damn shame they stopped making games. Hey you, thanks for sticking around. This is my first real video, deviating from the shitposted clips I've posted before. Subscribe, a like, maybe share this video around, it would really help for me. I'd like to thank my inspirations for all of this. Gabri Lovecraft for sharing her video writing process. Without that, I would have been completely lost. Loot for showing I don't need some super fancy equipment or anything like that just to make a great video. That Trav guy for also being a very big inspiration. And my thumbnail artist. Seriously, amazing job on this. I might make more videos like this, if I find something I'm interested in enough. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time.